Okay, here you go. Parabolas, going to have to know them for the test. All right. Parabolas in standard form. What do we call standard form of a parabola? Standard form of a parabola is ax squared plus bx plus c. Sometimes parabolas go up, sometimes they go down. Anybody tell me how they think they could determine whether they go up or down? Positive or negative. Which value do you think has to be positive or negative? The A, the B, or the C? If the A value is positive, it goes up. If the A value is negative, it goes down. Everybody good with that? Okay. The vertex is this spot right here. The vertex is either the lowest point of the parabola or the highest point of the parabola. There's a formula that we can use to determine the location of the vertex. Do you know the Pythagorean theorem? I'm sorry, the quadratic formula? Say it more. What is it? What do we got? You're not singing. All right, fine. That's all right. Take all the fun away. All right, so it's sitting right there for you. The vertex is that part. The vertex is negative b divided by 2a. And the vertex has an x value and a y value. It's a coordinate. Taking negative b and dividing it by 2a will give you the x value. If you want to get the y value, do this. F of negative b divided by 2a. What does that mean, f of negative b divided by 2a? Means you take the x value and plug it back in. Now I'll tell you the y value. So that's our vertex. We also have this thing, it's called the axis of symmetry. It takes the parabola and it divides it directly in half. If you notice, it's a vertical line. Vertical lines have the equation of x equals. What is the x value it passes through? Well, the x value of the vertex. So it's just x equals negative b divided by 2a. Now we're to the y-intercept. If you want to find the y-intercept, what do you plug in for x? 0. Watch what happens. If you plug in 0 for x, this goes away, and you're just left with c. So therefore, the y-intercept is the same thing as c. To find the x-intercepts, you have two options. Factor or quadratic formula. Factor or quadratic formula. Those are your options. We're going to put all those together. Okay? There were times in your previous classes you guys used to spend, 2-3 days working through those. We're going to really roll through 4 problems in one class period today. You guys should hopefully understand it all. Here we go. We have 4 problems. Y equals x squared plus 2x. Y equals x squared minus x minus 1. We've got y equals x squared minus 8x plus 7. And y equals 3 minus 3x minus x squared. We are going to determine the following. We're going to start with the vertex. You could do your work right in here. Place your answer in here. Quick sketch a graph. Vertex. Negative b divided by 2a. What is the b value? 2. So I have negative 2 divided by what? And I get negative 1. Negative 1 is the x value of the vertex. What do I do with the x value to get the y value? Plug it in. Now, you guys, take out your calculator if you have it, because I'm going to show you the mistakes that people make. And honestly, you guys, this is a mistake. It starts to drive me bonkers. So we got to make sure we don't make this mistake. Okay, I'm going to take negative 1. I'm going to square it, and I'm going to add it to 2 times negative 1. Now, if I take out this calculator, or you take out one that we had on the back over there, and you plug that in, watch what happens. I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to type in parentheses, negative 1 parentheses squared plus 2 parentheses negative 1. If I type it in just like that, I get negative 1. Well, watch if I type it like this. And this is how a lot of people type it. Negative 1 squared plus 2 times negative 1. That's how a lot of people would type it in. Do you get the negative 1? No, you don't. When you square a negative like this, you have to have parentheses around the negative. Otherwise, you're going to get the incorrect value. So I can see here that my vertex is negative 1, negative 1. What's the direction, up or down? Is the number in front of x squared positive or negative? The number in front of x squared is positive, so therefore it is up. The axis of symmetry is always x equals, and you just grab the x value of your vertex. Negative 1. Y-intercept is the c value. What is the c value? X-intercept. I look at it. Does this factor? What do you think? I'm going to say it does. Factor on x, I have x times x plus 2. Factors with the greatest common factor. What would you plug in here to make 0? Negative 2. What would you plug in here to make 0? 0. Those are your two equations, x equals 0 and x plus 2 equals 0. You can see in both situations, you come up with 0 and negative 2. We have all the pieces that we need. Now we are going to put them into the graph. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. My vertex is negative 1, negative 1. Thank you. My axis of symmetry is x equals negative 1. My x-intercepts are 0, negative 2. My y-intercept is at 0. And the graph goes up. On the test, you will have to determine all of those points. I'd like to move to example number 3. What are the easiest ones to determine from here? What are the easiest ones? What's the direction? What's the y-intercept? That was pretty easy, right? The vertex is actually one of the more difficult ones. The vertex, I do negative b divided by 2a. What's negative b? Divided by 2, and I get 4. What do I do with the 4 to get the y value? Plug it in. 4 squared is 16. 4 times 8 is 32 plus 7. 16 minus 32 is negative 16. Plus 7 is negative 9. That wasn't too bad, was it? The axis of symmetry is super easy once you have that. It's just x equals what? The x value of vertex. Hey, that was super easy as well. So it looks like 1, 2, 3 of these are really easy. The vertex, a little bit complicated, but once you do the negative b divided by 2a, not too bad. Now, does this factor? 0 equals x squared minus 8x plus 7. Does that factor? For two numbers that multiply a positive 7 but add a negative 8? Yes. So what are my x-intercepts then? 7 and 1. Here's the deal, folks. If you don't like using, if you don't like factoring, you can use the quadratic formula every time if you want, and you'll come up with the right answers. I've got 1 and 7. I'm going to make a graph. I'm going to go by threes. Four negative 9 over 4 down 9. Draw my axis of symmetry. I'm going to plot my x-intercepts at 1 and 7. Y-intercept of positive 7. Draw my graph. Do two more together here. Direction. Up. Y-intercept. Negative 1. How do I find the vertex? Negative b divided by 2a, so 1 divided by 2. Uh-oh. I've got a fraction. Raise your hand if you love fractions. Nobody raised their hand. Awesome. If you plug that into your calculator, just make sure that you put parentheses. And if you would like to type it as a decimal, that's fine. Go 0.5. I don't care. Squared. Minus, parentheses, 0.5. Minus 1. As long as you can use that calculator to type it in correctly, that's what we want. Get negative 1.25. Or negative 1 1/4. So because of that, what else do I know? Is x equals 1/2. Now, for the sake of your assignment to help you out, I want you to know that everything I give you on the left-hand side factors. Everything I give you on the right-hand side, you would have to use the quadratic formula for. 0 equals x squared minus x minus 1 does not factor. And because it does not factor, we have to use the quadratic formula. We wrote down the quadratic formula before. We have negative b, so positive 1, plus or minus the square root of. A lot of people made this mistake on the last test. If you take negative 1 and square it, you get positive 1. Every time you square something, it becomes positive. 1 minus 4 times A is 1 and C is -1. Divided by 2 times A. Notice this 1 over 2. That's your vertex, right? Vertex always shows up in the quadratic formula. Okay. How many negatives do you have underneath here? You got 2 of them, so they'll change to positive. So that's 1 plus or minus the square root of 5 over 2. It's kind of hard to plot those, isn't it? So you need to make them into decimals so you know where to plot them. Hi. Yes. I have a meeting and I will cancel it. Okay. And so he will come and find me there and we'll give him the test. All right. I take 1 plus the square root of 5. I press enter. That's what the numerator is. I divide it by 2 to get the denominator. 1.62. How do I get the other one? What do I do? I take 1 minus the square root of 5. Press enter. Divide that by 2. And I get negative 0.62. That's enough to graph right there. I'm going to make a 2 by 2 graph. (1/2) and negative 1 1/4 is going to place me right here. Axis of symmetry goes right down the middle. I have a y-intercept of -1. And it passes through 1.62, which is a little bit more than 1.5, and negative 0.62, which is a little bit less than negative 1/2. I have those points. That's enough to sketch my graph. And there you have it. Folks, I entirely understand that you might not get the x-intercepts right all the time. But I believe that everybody here can for sure do the y-intercept, the axis of symmetry, the direction, and most importantly, the vertex. Oh, I'm getting a head shake. No way. Can't do it. Shaking your head at her. The vertex. Confused about that one? Okay. Thank you for asking. Let's try this one. Vertex together. Last example, then you guys could start working. What's different about this one? It's not in order. Let's write it in order. Negative x squared minus 3x positive 3. Is that better? What do I already know? Direction. Down. Y-intercept. 3. Vertex. Negative b divided by 2a. So we look at the b value. It's -3, right? You make it opposite. So positive 3. Divided by, what's the a value? -1. So 2 times -1 is -2. If you want to write it as a decimal, go ahead. Lots of people will take 3 divided by -2, and they get -1.5. Yeah? What do I do to get the next value? Plug it in. So watch how I plug it in. I start with the negative sign. Wherever I see an x, I put parentheses. And I put negative 1.5. Squared. Minus 3. Parentheses. Negative 1.5. Plus 3. Let the calculator do the work for me. The next test in college algebra, they don't get to use a calculator at all on the whole test. It's I'm not going to do that to you guys for this one. And I wouldn't do that to them either. But when you have the calculator, make sure you're able to make good use of it. You guys get a calculator for this test, so use it. Punch it in, 5.25. What's the axis of symmetry? X equals negative 1/2, or 1.5. Okay. All right, let's check out where you're at, okay? Negative b says positive 3, plus or minus, square root of. If we square the b value, we get 9 minus 4 times. A is negative 1, c is 3. All divided by 2a, or negative 2. That becomes 3 plus or minus. How many negatives do we have? 2. So it changes it to plus. 9 plus 12 is 21 over negative 2. That is simplest radical form right there. I want to turn it into decimal. And I want to be clear. When you do turn it into a decimal, you got to be very careful. Come on in, Grace. Hi, Grace. Never mind. I'm not needed. I'm not important anymore. Thank you. I want to be careful when you do this whole thing. 3 plus the root of 21. You guys do this and you divide by negative 2. This is not correct at all. Okay? If I press go to, look at what I did. I never closed off the parenthesis there, and I can't just divide by negative 2. I need to do 3 plus the root of 21, press enter. That figures out the top. Then divide it by the denominator. I get negative 3.8. To do the other one, I do the same thing. 3 minus the root of 21. Press enter. Take it and divide it by negative 2, and I get 0.8. Now I have enough information to sketch my graph. I'm going to make a 6 by 6 graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. I start by plotting my vertex. Negative 1.5 and 5.25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Axis of symmetry goes right down the middle. Y-intercept, positive 3. X-intercepts, that was a positive 0.8, wasn't it? Yeah. Positive 0.8 and negative 1, 2, 3.8. And that's enough information to produce the graph. Okay. All right. I know that that's a long lesson, longer than you guys used to have. We're up to 25 minutes right now. But I'm going to give you the worksheet today. But you're going to, tomorrow when we get to class, we're going to do a checkpoint at the beginning of class and a checkpoint at the end of class. You'll have the whole rest of the class to be able to work on the assignment, which I'll give to you right now if you want to get a head start on it. Okay? Okay.